The story of money is as old as civilization itself, but the concept of the banknote, or paper money, marks one of the most revolutionary moments in economic history. Before the invention of paper currency, trade and commerce relied heavily on barter systems, coins made of precious metals, and other forms of commodity money. Ancient societies used shells, salt, and even cattle as a medium of exchange. While these systems worked to a degree, they carried significant limitations. Transporting large amounts of commodity money was cumbersome. Security was a constant concern, and the value of these items fluctuated depending on scarcity or local conditions. This created the need for a more portable, standardized, and reliable form of money, setting the stage for what would become the first banknotes. The origins of the first true paper money can be traced back to China during the Tang Dynasty, 7th century, but it became more widespread and functional under the Song Dynasty, 11th century. Early Chinese merchants, especially those engaged in long-distance trade, faced the constant difficulty of carrying heavy coins across vast distances. In response, these merchants began using promissory notes, which were essentially written IOUs promising that the bearer could redeem the value at a specific location or with a trusted merchant. These notes were convenient and reduced the risk of theft, yet they were still limited in scope and required trust between parties. The real breakthrough came during the Song Dynasty in the 11th century, when the Chinese government took the bold step of issuing official state-backed paper money. Known as jiaowazi, these notes were initially introduced in Sichuan province as a solution to the shortage of copper coins, which were the primary form of currency at the time. The jiaowazi were printed on mulberry bark paper, chosen for its durability, and carried a face value guaranteeing that they could be exchanged for coins at government offices. This was revolutionary because, for the first time, the value of money was guaranteed not by intrinsic material worth like gold or silver, but by the authority and credibility of the government issuing it. The introduction of paper money was not just a financial innovation. It was a social and economic revolution. It allowed traders to carry larger sums easily, facilitated long-distance trade, and helped the government exert greater control over the economy. Merchants could deposit coins with local authorities in exchange for paper notes, which could then be redeemed elsewhere. This system created a more fluid economy, reduced the risks of theft, and allowed for faster expansion of commerce across regions. It also paved the way for the concept of fiat money, where currency derives its value from government decree rather than the intrinsic value of the material it is made from. However, the early Chinese experience also illustrates that innovation in finance comes with risks. Counterfeiting quickly became a problem, as the notes could be reproduced by clever forgers, leading to economic instability. To combat this, the Song Dynasty employed complex designs, watermarks, and official stamps to authenticate notes. Later, during the Yuan Dynasty under Kublai Khan, the state monopoly on paper money became more rigid, as the Mongol rulers printed vast quantities of notes to fund military campaigns. This overproduction eventually led to hyperinflation, showing the delicate balance required between issuing enough money to stimulate the economy and maintaining its value. The concept of paper money slowly spread beyond China, reaching the Middle East and Europe by the 13th and 14th centuries through trade routes like the Silk Road. In medieval Europe, merchants and banks began experimenting with bills of exchange, which were effectively promissory notes used to settle debts without the need to transport large sums of coins. These instruments can be seen as the precursors to modern banknotes, demonstrating how necessity and innovation often travel hand in hand. By the 17th century, European nations, particularly Sweden and England, had developed formal banking institutions that issued state-backed paper money. Sweden's Stockholm Banknote, founded in 1656, is credited as one of the first European banks to issue true banknotes, paving the way for modern currency systems across the continent. The introduction of paper money transformed economies in profound ways. It enabled the expansion of trade, encouraged investment, and facilitated the growth of cities. Unlike coins, which were constrained by the availability of metals, paper money could theoretically expand to meet the needs of commerce. This flexibility allowed governments to manage economies more effectively, finance wars, and support public projects without immediate reliance on scarce precious metals. In essence, the creation of the first banknotes marked a pivotal moment in the history of finance. It represented humanity's first true abstraction of value, separating money from the tangible commodities that had traditionally underpinned it. Yet, the journey of paper money has always been a balancing act. While it provides convenience and economic efficiency, it also introduces trust-based vulnerabilities. The success of a banknote depends entirely on the public's confidence in the issuer. If that trust is lost, currency can collapse overnight. A lesson vividly illustrated throughout history from the hyperinflation in 14th century China to the German mark crisis after World War I. Modern central banks have learned from these lessons, implementing monetary policies and regulatory frameworks designed to maintain stability and public confidence. Today's fiat currencies, whether the US dollar, euro, or Japanese yen, are built on the same principle first demonstrated by the Song dynasty's Jawazi. Value is not inherent but collectively agreed upon and enforced through governance. In addition to its economic impact, the invention of paper money also transformed society's perception of wealth. It enabled social mobility as people could trade, invest, and accumulate wealth without being restricted by the physical burden of coins or precious metals. Trade flourished, cities grew, and the foundations for modern capitalism were laid. Paper money also facilitated international trade, as merchants could carry notes over long distances without fear of loss, eventually leading to standardized currencies, banking systems, and the global financial networks we recognize today. In conclusion, the birth of the first banknote is more than just a financial milestone. It is a story of human ingenuity, trust, and adaptability. From the mulberry bark notes of the Song dynasty to the advanced, secure, and globally recognized currencies of today, the journey of paper money reflects the evolution of civilization itself. It demonstrates how societies have continually sought solutions to practical problems, balancing innovation with responsibility. Paper money was not merely a tool for trade, it was a bold experiment in abstraction, a statement that value is a shared belief and a cornerstone of the modern global economy. For anyone interested in finance, history, or human progress, understanding the origin of money is essential, reminding us that even the simplest of concepts, a piece of paper, can transform the world in ways unimaginable.